And I just didn't feel like I was good enough because I couldn't give my child the milk that I wanted him to have, so things like that can be very challenging as a new mom.
Okay, and for me, I would say mom guilt looks like I can't be everywhere at one time. Or, mom guilt looks like I'm too busy. Because I'm doing so much, and maybe I don't feel like I'm giving as much time to my child as I'm giving to work, as I'm giving to my extracurriculars, as I'm giving to businesses that I've started on my own. And sometimes that does make me feel guilty. Or if I'm doing something and I'm trying to really get it done really fast, and I hear my daughter in the background, mom, 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 and I didn't notice that she's already called me 3 times, because that experienced mom and me has said tune it out. She doesn't want anything, but I feel guilty about that at times because I'm so focused and trying to be task oriented that I sometimes forget about those things. And sometimes that mom guilt for me looks like I don't want to go to the spa because my daughter wants to go to Chuck E. Cheese. Or I don't want to go on an adult trip because my daughter wants to go to an amusement park. So I don't end up doing the thing that I want to do because that guilt takes place. I want to make sure that my child is happy. So that comes in a sense of sometimes feeling guilty, of, and balancing motherhood at the same time. I want to make sure I'm an adequate mother. I don't want my child to think that I'm a bad mother. So I choose to do things that are more preferential to my child than I tend to do for myself sometimes.
I've been there, especially when it comes to trying to juggle so many things at one time. For example, with me, I work, then trying to do all these other projects at the same time. And I'm a very task oriented person. I'm always busy doing this and the other. And sometimes I feel the same way, with just not feeling like I'm not good enough, like how you were saying with your child, how she may be calling your name 3 times, and you could be trying to have a focus on this thing, and then you're like, okay, my child is trying to call me for this, that, and the other. And so sometimes it can be hard to try to juggle all that, and then you end up feeling guilty. But at the same time, you want to do all of this to leave a legacy for your child. So it's a lot to juggle.
It totally is. It is a lot to juggle. But, I'm thinking that we're not the only ones who experience this sort of, guilt. But that's one thing that we need to be cognizant of and probably jot down and just analyze so we can kind of see how we're finding the balance to that. Because if we're feeling mom guilt and we're giving the preferential to the child all the time, then guess who's going without? The mom. So then that means that, somewhere in the midst, we have to figure out how to make ourselves a priority, um, instead of having that sense of guilt about ordinary things.
We do.
Okay, I had to plug in my computer. So the next thing, sleep deprivation. When we don't get proper rest, we are not our best selves. And I know a lot of us have smartwatches, and I did not have a clue. For some reason, I did not know that my Apple Watch tracked my sleep, and it tracks my respiratory measures. It tracks my breathing. It tells me how many times a week I've met my sleep goal. And At one point, when I first started using my watch for that, when I realized it could do it, I was only getting about 4 hours of sleep a night.
Mhm.
And my watch brought that to my attention. So then I made it a point like, I'm going to start getting more rest. I have to start getting more sleep. So I started using my watch and setting sleep goals for myself so that I could get more sleep. And guess what? I started to feel better.
I'm sure you did.
I started to, and 4 turned into 6, 6 turned into 8. I started to feel better. And I started to function more efficiently. And I realized I also had more energy because I'm now getting rest that I was not accustomed to getting. So, what's your take on sleep deprivation contributing maybe to our mental state as mothers, getting adequate rest?
Yes, so sleep deprivation is something that I'm sure a lot of us experience, and sleep deprivation can cause us to be less efficient, not as functional. It affects us in work when it comes to taking care of our kids and everything. So making sure we get the proper rest positively affects all those things. We can be there more for our children. We can be there more for our work, making sure things get done. We have a clearer mind to be able to think. And small things like that are so important. And I don't think we really think about a lot of that stuff, even when it comes to our health. Some people may wonder, why am I not losing weight? Why am I gaining weight? And that also affects your sleep as well. You could be eating the proper amount of food and drinking what you need to drink, drinking water and all of that. But if you're not getting your sleep, you could be piling on weight. So sleep is very important. And something that helps me is, I know you were mentioning that you use your Apple Watch. There's also a feature on the phone that you can use called Focus. And there's a sleep feature on that. And that also helps to calculate your sleep and see, am I getting enough sleep? Am I constantly going into my phone around 1 o'clock in the morning when I know I should be laying down and going to sleep? So
Yeah.
using tools like that really help.
Yes, I learned about focus mode too with the sleep mode, and it has been silencing those unimportant calls. I have it set where only certain people come through and certain alarms come through, and that has attributed to me getting better sleep. Even like things like the alarm system on the house. If it's motion in the backyard, it could be a leaf blowing. It will wake me up at night. So I had to put all those things in focus mode so that it would not interrupt my sleep pattern at night. All right. So then our next one. What would be another thing that you may feel like affects the mental for mothers?
I would say for mental health, another thing that affects mothers is domestic violence.
Oh, that's a big
That's,
one. That's
that's
huge.
something that a lot of women experience and don't necessarily want to talk about. It's a very sensitive topic.
Yes. And I think this is fitting since it is mental health awareness month. I have not been in a domestic violence situation, but I have friends who have been in these situations and they have shared stories with me, and I have tried to be a friend and counsel them through it. But I am not a licensed professional. But what I will say is domestic violence is not just physical. Domestic violence can be mentally and emotionally as well. So, and when you feel like your significant other or your spouse is hurting you physically, mentally, or emotionally, you do need to seek help. And there are some resources that are available to you in your communities. So, and then we also have, you can look at your pastoral institutes, you can look at your churches. There are some women's shelters that you can look into, but also we have the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and it's open 24/7. They offer English, Spanish, and 200 other languages via interpreters. And that number is 800-799-7233. If you are in a domestic violence situation, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline so that you can get some assistance. I can't speak to it myself, but I do know that women go through it. What about you, Mari?
I also know of some people close to me that have experienced that, and it's nothing to play with. I've literally had to talk to someone to let them know you need to get out of this situation, because if you don't, the next thing you know, you might end up being dead by what this person is doing. So I think we really need to speak up about these topics. And like I said, it can be a sensitive topic, but you never know. You could save somebody's life, or we could save somebody's life just by giving out that number to the National Domestic Violence Line. Sometimes people just need someone to talk to, even if it's a stranger.
Yes, people do need someone to talk to, even if it's just a stranger. And sometimes we can't confide in people because we don't want to feel embarrassed. So it's best
Right.
to go to an outside source to sometimes seek help or maybe get you out of your situation. So we talked about mom guilt. And if you missed it, go back and watch this. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel. While you're here, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and you can talk to us in the comments. Feel free, if you have something, you can put your questions or concerns in the comment. This is our Mommies Matter segment. This is for the moms tonight. And if you like it, we'll bring it back and talk about more issues that moms can relate to. All right. So now we talked about mom guilt. We talked about sleep deprivation, and we just touched on domestic violence. And we want those ladies who are in those type situations to seek help. But now, if I am sleep deprived, if I am feeling guilty, if I'm feeling all the pressures of momhood, I need to learn some self-care practice. So let's share some of our self-care secrets with the moms. Some realistic things that moms can do for self-care. All right, so something that I like to do because I feel like food is satisfying, bake a delicious treat. If you like a sundae, make the brownie, put the sundae together with the ice cream and your toppings and your caramel, and it's cost efficient, but you can do that. Bake a delicious treat, something that you find pleasing for yourself.
Yes, so I love to pamper myself. I love to do at-home pedicures and manicures, and taking this time to myself not only just gives me the time to have that quiet time where I don't have to deal with, trying to tend to my child or anything else, but it also allows me to take the time to feel good. You know that saying where they say, if you look good, you feel good. So pampering myself is one of my ultimate favorite things to do. How about you?
I love to pamper myself too. And some of us, sometimes we can't go to the spa. So self-pampering is good. But a simple thing you can do is take a moment to yourself. With us being mothers, if you have an opportunity to go to Walmart by yourself, go to Walmart by yourself and take that moment to just smell the roses and blow out the candles and breathe in your own space by yourself, without your kids, without that noise. Just go by yourself. And also taking a long time at home. Like I try to give myself 30 minutes of silence in the morning when I start my morning routine. And I try to give myself 30 minutes of silence at night before I go to sleep. Um, just so I can let all the pressures of the world of life off my mind and regroup. Either recharge to start the day or just to regroup at the end of the day. But just taking those moments in solitude to refresh my brain. That has been a big help to me.
And the same for me, Raven, especially at nighttime after I put my child to sleep. I love to just have that quiet time to myself. And not only during that quiet time that I have to myself, I just have quiet time, but I also love to journal.
Yes, journaling. I keep journals everywhere. I have several. So, if someone wanted to know my deepest, innermost secrets, they will pick up a journal around my house because I have them everywhere. It's a good way to release. If you feel like you can't tell anybody, you feel like someone can't really hold a secret, that book is not going to tell anybody. Journaling is a good way to de-stress at a day's end. And it's also a good way to hold yourself accountable for what you said you were going to do. If you wrote on the first of the month that you were going to save more money, and you get to the 30th of the month and you don't have any money, you need to go back to that journal entry you wrote on the first of the month and devise a new plan. And there are so many different things you could journal. You could journal your water intake. You can journal your sleep habits. You can journal your eating habits, your fitness routine. You can just journal, um, dear diary, I really don't like my significant other today. Because, maybe that's something you can't say to your significant other. But once again, the journal is not going to tell anybody. And no mom wants to say this, but dear journal, these kids are getting on my nerves today. Okay. That journal is not going to tell, but at least you had the opportunity to get it off your chest type thing. And another thing that I think is a good self-care routine is to get moving. I would say workout, but to each his own. But physical fitness is very important. But if you're not getting a good workout in, when you go to Walmart, instead of just buying the orange juice, so I'm gonna do 10 laps around Walmart today. I'm gonna walk around Walmart 10 times because we have to get our blood flowing so that we can feel good.
And that's a good workout.
Yes. I'm gonna do 10
Walmart is a big store.
a big store. So it could be something as simple as that. Parks, you know, something I do to get moving. It's self-care for me and it's scenic for my child. I take a wagon and I take her to the park downtown and I let her walk a little bit because I'm trying to tire her out before we get back home. But when she gets too tired to walk, I pull her in that wagon. So she's going on a free field trip for the day and I'm getting in some steps for the day too.
Right.
But that also eases me into that phase where I can get a good night's sleep.
Exactly. And something else that we don't really talk about a lot is taking naps. Naps are so important. When you think about naps, we were told to take naps as children, but even as an adult, you still need a nap, even if it's 5 minutes. It helps me recharge.
Yes, naps do help me recharge as well. And I realized that I wasn't taking enough naps. And I was like, hey, take a nap. You feel so much better. And it gives you that extra boost of energy to make it through the day. Now, this one is fun. Binge watch a series.
Yes, that is so relaxing.
Yes, binge watch. If it's going to take you 2 to 3 days to knock something out, binge watch. Right now, I am binge watching Queen of the South. Now, it's not the most positive show, but she's a girl boss in a crime world. And I have been binge watching it. I have fallen in love with the storyline. It is good. So, like, what's something that you're watching right now, Mari?
So I just got through with Snowfall. I'm not really watching anything right now, but one show that I'm ready to come back on is coming back on in June. I'm trying to think of the show. I can't think of the show in particular, but when it comes to me, I'll let you know. But one thing that I do like to binge watch on is movies.
Okay, and then so one thing we can't leave out: tell your friends and tell your loved ones when you need help. No one knows that you're in this space where you're feeling a little too cramped if you haven't told anyone that you need help. So we can't continue to fight silent battles and think people can see what's wrong with us in our faces. We have to let people know, hey, I need you to help cook today. Hey, I need you to pick up the kids today. Can you pick her up from cheerleading practice today? Like, no one is going to know that you need help if you don't say it, because on the outside looking in, girl, it looks like you got it, but you never told anyone you needed help. So please let your loved ones know if and when you need help.
It definitely takes a village.
It takes a village. And the most important thing I think we need to talk about is meditation. Positive self-talk, affirmations. We're going to put a link in the chat box. If you want some daily affirmations emailed to you, we'll be glad to send you our 80s Babies Conversation daily affirmation. We'll send you 30 affirmations for moms. All right. For you to say throughout the day in the morning when you wake up. But that meditation, positive self-talk to yourself, positive self-talk to the creator if you believe, but just those speaking positive words over yourself, giving yourself something to look forward to. A quote. Pinterest. I love Pinterest.
I do too.
I will go there and type in quotes to motivate women. Bam. Quotes for single mothers. Bam. All right. And it just comes right up. And I have me some words. But meditation is important because it keeps us centered. And you have to take that time to speak a word over yourself. Especially those of us who are in the workforce, at home moms, it's all hard. It's all difficult equally. It's all equally difficult. We go through some things. We need positive encouragement and motivation. And sometimes we don't have people to give it to us. So we have to give it to ourselves. All right.
We do, definitely. And with that meditation, it allows you to just sit there and just not think about anything. And sometimes you need that because, especially with being a busy mom and trying to juggle being a mom and having a career and doing stuff outside of that, sometimes it can be a bit too much. And you're thinking about, I need to do this with my child, I need to do this with work. Sometimes you just have to let it go and just meditate and just literally just think about nothing.
Nothing. So I totally agree with that. And like, I feel like we have dropped some gems tonight. I think we can say that this Mommies Matter segment was a success. And if you enjoyed it, once again, we want you to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button so that we'll know that we need to do this segment again. And also, if you want those daily affirmations, I just put a link in the chat. Fill out that Google form. We will email you those daily affirmations for mothers. And before we close, Mari, is there anything you wanted to say to the moms?
Yeah, all the moms out there, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope these tips helped you. And just know that you are not alone. This is something that we all go through.
Mm-hmm.
And we just have to bring awareness to that.
Yes. And I enjoyed you tonight, Mari. In our next conversation, I think we're going to talk about the kids are getting out of school next week. So we need to tell the moms some mom hacks for summer break. How some things they can do with their kids that are cost efficient, some places they can go, places they can eat, those kind of things, so that we can get our moms surviving summer break with the children at home. Is that
Most definitely, we can do that. I enjoyed you too.
all right, Mari? Have a good night. Be safe. And
You
that concludes
too.
our 80s Babies conversation for tonight. Our Mommies Matter segment. Don't forget to hit like and hit subscribe.